Hello and welcome to another Artis Opus React video. If you are new to the channel, welcome also. If you don't know what this is about, I am going to be reacting to viewer submissions. So just normal people who follow the channel, it's their miniatures and they've sent them in. And today we have something a little bit special actually. We are looking at some grimdark miniatures. So these have either been labeled by the painter themselves as of that aesthetic. If you don't know what it is, give grimdark miniature painting a Google and be impressed. It's very, very, very cool. Or we think that it kind of falls into that spectrum. So Ronan has prepared for me a slideshow of miniatures. I've not seen these yet. Let's jump in and see what the talented peeps have done for us. Oh, wow. Strong start. We have here some images from Aaron Bird. They're his weathered marines. He's been using a stippling technique on them. Dude, that's some smooth stippling. Main struggle is power weapons. We may have a recent couple of tutorials for that. Oh, he's just seen our tutorial this morning. I'm looking forward to trying your techniques. Would love some comments on the main model tips on glaze consistency to help stop watermarks or noticeable changes in color. Great question. What he means there is apparently this is only an English thing where we call them tea stains. The rest of the world calls them coffee stains, and the artistic term is tidal marks. So that is, if you imagine if you drop some tea or coffee on a piece of paper or something that's really porous, what would happen is you'd get like these tide marks, like the sea leaves at the edge where the really, really bright stuff has stayed in the center and the dark stuff has collected and coalesced at the outsides. You're not looking to do that when you use a wash. So my main tip for that, actually, Aaron and people in general, is to just drop in some medium. You can use contrast medium, you can use glaze medium from Vallejo, you can use Lamium medium. They are all pretty similar. Some behave slightly differently, but mostly it's just, practice and find the one that works for you. They are really, really good at making washes work more consistently with better consistency, and that will stop you getting those issues at the edges. Let's have a look at these miniatures. I love I think they're called pauldrons, the little shoulder sections. They are wonderful. Really nice little checkerboards on them. These are solid, dude. I think the power weapons will definitely add a lot. I can provide no criticism on your basing. I think that is really good and fits the aesthetic, aside from the healthy green tuft. People don't often do this, but you can paint tufts and you can wash tufts. And I think definitely pulling that tuft down, maybe it's meant to be a counterpoint, it's meant to be pushing through in a barren environment or something like that. That's cool. If that's the situation, go for it. But maybe just a couple of layers of the wash that's used elsewhere on the base, or maybe some dry brushing on the tips of it, of the same color that's been used on the base, would help tie it in and, pull that environment together. These are great though, dude. I love this aesthetic. You've used a nice purple. Final thing, you've handled those overly large gun holsters well. I know they're to scale and all of that, but they just look big on the miniatures. A lot of the Space Marines have this issue, the Indomitor set in particular. These are awesome though, really, really like them. Great aesthetic. Maybe you could use a little bit of cross-hatching or something like that, some other texture-based technique on the robes, just to get them up to a slightly brighter color, because I think they could just be taken up in line with the rest of the paint job. Overall though, dude, spot on, love them, great, good photography as well. Thomas G from Poland, because I will butcher your name, otherwise apologies. This is great. I don't know if this has been put through some type of an app, but the style on it, it's very stylized. Oh, that white is fantastic. So this is an example, I think, of the type of paint job where you can get away with using rougher techniques than you would do otherwise. And this guy's shoulder and his robe in general, those areas on him really, really show that, this kind of rougher style fits. It's more painterly, it's more artistic. This base is too happy for the model's aesthetic, in my opinion. It echoes the colors of the model, which is really cool, but I think it should be grimed down a bit. And I know those leaves are there, but it just doesn't quite fit with how, grim and dark the rest of it is. Otherwise though, absolutely great, dude. Really, really, really like it. Again, a lovely little pauldron. We've done a recent lava blade tutorial. Check it out, give it a bash. I think there's too much black around the lines there. It's like one color, other color edge, and it should be kind of a more flowy, stipply, interwoven set of colors. So check out our recent tutorial for that. Daniel Riley in Peterborough in the UK. Dude, these are on point. These are great. These are so good. Yeah, it's really hard when someone's picked a style and nailed it, in my opinion. It's really hard to provide criticism. So the basing fits completely. They look like they've been in trenches. I love the fact that you've basically only got the green and otherwise it's monotone. tiny bit of color on those purity seals, nice accent. So I do have one thing, got all this lovely texture, in particular that banner. I think in the recesses of the metals, if it's cool with the ideas you've got for the army, but of the banner and stuff, you could have some more weathering, you know, some verdigris, some streaking, really push that age that, or you know, how haggard stuff is, which is evident everywhere else on the models, and reflect that in the banner. You could even take the same color you use for the mud on the bases, wash it down quite a lot, and then use that as a recess wash on other parts of the models, like maybe that banner. Really cool though, absolutely love it. They're bloody awesome. I would like to see more. Please send more in. Okay then, so Gabriel and Maya from Madrid in Spain. This is really cool actually. That base and I are not gonna get on. So the rim of that base with the crackle paint, it is pulling a load of attention away from the base, and the base is actually really quite nicely done, but because you've got a busy texture on the base and then you've got a busy texture on the rim, there is nothing to stop my eyes from drifting downwards to these other busy textures. I just want them to stop and for me to be able to appreciate what is on top of that. Obviously, I am a member of the black base rim cult, so that is an opinion that I hold strongly, but any flat color around the edge, I don't feel you should be drawing attention to the parts that aren't the model, and I view the model as starting from the ground up, you know, unless you've got some scenic awesome stuff going on, or water effects, or, you know, a crazy base, which this isn't, it's a normal base. That would make a big difference for me. Really cool aesthetic though. I would like to see the weathering. So the blade, it looks like you've painted black along the rim of his scythe, and then you've done these little scratches there. I would like to see more variety in them. So, you know, they're coming from multiple angles. It's not just all like this. It didn't all get weathered in the same way. And I don't think he's been using that for gardening by the looks of this piece anyway. And then the other thing is you've got this long blade and it's only scratched from the edge there. He would have been stabbing people with that if he's in battle. So those scratches coming from the end and from all directions on it, it is the bit that would get beaten up the most of the model. Very cool aesthetic though, and literally a black base rim would skyrocket that, and it would help me appreciate the rest of the base further, because it looks like you've put quite a lot of work in. Great stuff though. Nice. All right. I started painting again last year in March after I was gifted some Death Guard after a 15-year break. Thanks for the amazing tips. You're most welcome, dude. Right, let's get in there and have a look at these. I think what they could benefit from is a little bit more in terms of additional details in the recesses of the armor. You know, they're looking quite beaten up. They've got scratches and stuff like that. Really like the hazards. I just think a bit more depth in the recesses of the armor and the recesses of the plating. Even if it's not a silver section, all the sections of the armor in this model could be grimed up. There is an amazing product called Streaking Grime. It's a little bit scary to use potentially, but basically you can varnish your model to protect it, put the Streaking Grime on, and then you remove it. It's a reductive painting technique. So rather than adding stuff, you put stuff on and then you remove it from where you don't want it. And I think that could add some real depth to these though. That's brilliant though. 15-year break, dude. You should be proud. All right, cool. High quality photos, Chad Ashton. And a pretty awesome model. I love the Nighthaunt aesthetic here. So this is a Guardian of Souls from the... So Daraka, Guardian of Souls. I just knew him as Guardian of Souls. I should know this. I've played against Nighthaunt lots, and I play Age of Sigmar myself. Anyway, this model is great. Couple of areas for criticism. The blood, so just to get nice and disgusting here, blood is either old and brown or new and red. Generally speaking, you know, it's going to be one of those two things. You can't really suggest a middle ground between the two. In painting, you'd be more likely to have some newer and some older next to each other. It's quite hard to get that nuance unless you're like a Jesus level painter. So in my opinion, that red, if it's that bright, it should be mixed in with like a gloss or something maybe, just to draw attention to it and make people know it's fresh. Or you add a little bit of black to it. You can even add some purple or a little bit of a dark brown or something, and it looks more like older and dried out. Having dried out, still bright red blood doesn't make as much sense. And I think it's pulling away from otherwise what is a really well technically executed model. The glow is fantastic, by the way. The model's lovely in general, but yeah, that would really help. And then a second thing is, just, you know, a slightly lighter orange rust in a couple of areas of the otherwise gorgeous metal. So you could put some brighter scratches on the very edge and some lighter orange rust in the recesses or around the rivets or stuff like that. I think it just helps showcase what is already, you know, like really beautifully painted texture very nicely. And those Nighthaunt weapons and armors you've got, they're all pitted and, you know, beaten up and trashed and ancient. And yeah, it's a lovely model. I think those two would only help, you know, buff it up a little bit further. Okay, so Fabian Grajeda he's in Guatemala. That is awesome. We've got someone tuning in from there. I want to thank you for every single video. You're most welcome, dude. They are really nicely executed. These are wicked, dude. That blue dry brushing on those robes is awesome, and that green glow is just fantastic. My main criticism of these actually is that I don't feel that how vibrant that green is on their base kind of works with the model. You could maybe have like a little bright light source or something, because I can see that you've got glowing coming from underneath her hand and stuff like that, which looks awesome, and the glowing from the side looks, you know, really nice high level stuff. I think that green is a bit too vibrant, a bit too saturated, and I'm not sure if it works with the rest of the aesthetic of the model. So maybe you could dial that back with a little bit of washes, you know, still keep the purple hints to it in the recesses and stuff like that, but maybe pull it down a little more. Otherwise though, the execution here is absolutely fantastic, dude. Your rust is very, very nice. Final thing you can see on the pauldron, using that word a lot in this one, on the pauldron of the knight, the little circular bit, and also on one of his thigh guards, there's a seal line running down there. You've executed everything to such a high level. It's a shame to have those on, so just scrape them off beforehand a little bit more. These Nurgle models have a lot going on though, so it is quite easy to miss them. I normally find these about 2 layers in when it's the most frustrating to remove them, but otherwise, fantastic. Jer Stubbs from Waterford in Ireland. This is gruesome. We are grimdark in aesthetic here for sure. That is a nice potion bottle. That needs a hint of gloss. If you're suggesting something as glass and shiny, particularly when you put this much work on it, you can see that he's got, you know, the little white lines across the top where it'd have the bubbles. Hitting that with the gloss will really make it stand out as a shiny item. And then the other thing for the rest of the model is, I think you just need a little bit more, which would probably be washes, to separate one zone from another. Now you can do this, you know, you could carefully black line, you know, start from black and then paint this in and leave an exact black line and then paint that and then leave the exact same black line. Or you can paint them however you do and then just drop a wash in the recess. So you just run it down here, and then that will help separate, for example, the gold of his shoulder pad from the olive green of his armor of his shoulder. But I like the light dots on his eyes and stuff like that. Solid and disgusting, however. That is a perfect example of blood being shiny also. You know, really, that is fresh blood. Nice. Okay, Daniel Briley in the UK finally bucked up the courage to use his D and S brush sets on his own Domitus box and paint a marine. This, your brush control, dude, is fantastic. To be painted in those, I presume, stippled or sponged, please let us know. Popping the chips within those is awesome. Really, really decent level of brush control there, mate. You can see the cross hatching you've got on the, I need the overly large gun holsters would feature. They're big and they're cumbersome, aren't they? I'd take scratch the edge of that with a brighter color a little bit more as well. He's mentioned not being hugely pleased with his snow base. I think it's pretty good, man, honestly. Take a Google of, just Google nature, Google snow. Snow comes in, you know, shiny, not shiny, fluffy, not fluffy, half melted, you know, super clean and crisp, mixed with dirt, all of that. Go and look for some inspiration from nature is generally where I go for mine. And then just try and break that down into a miniature painting process. Maybe, you know, putting a bit of gloss varnish in or something like that with your snow would make it look a bit more shiny if you're going for it. It looks fluffy though, mate. One thing you can do is you could put a skull in there or something for contrast, and you'll find that that boosts the quality of the snow without you actually having to do anything to the snow. This is great. Your control's really good. His shoulder pad is too smooth for the rest of the model. Get in there. It's wonderful. You know, you've shown your talent on it, but get in there and weather that up as well. For sure. The other thing you could do is areas where you've got like the bulbous shoulder and then you've got a trim around it. Give a little bit of a highlight to the trim just to help separate the sections, the different zones of that piece a bit more. It's great though. Yeah, just keep cracking at it. Lovely work. All right, this. So for those of you who weren't aware of exactly what kind of encapsulates a decidedly grimdark aesthetic as it's worked its way into being in the last few years, this is it, spot on. And this is the model to show it with as well. That's grim, dude. The pictures are a little bit dark and shadowed, fits the aesthetic, makes it harder for me to provide feedback. Though I really love that he's got one shiny hand, which looks like it's been made out of a different metallic base or alloy or something like that. Really cool. The weather in his ace. Yeah, I love this. I would like those some better lit pictures. So make sure the lighting is coming from the same angle as the camera, because that's the camera's eyes, and then we can see what's going on for all of that. But this looks baller though, really, really nice. The OSL, quick tip for OSL, one of the most efficient ways that I've found to do it. Paint the area that you want to be OSLE white, dry brush around that area with white, softly, carefully, maybe use Baby D or the small, and then put down a glaze on that surrounding area, and then let's say we've used a bright yellow-green glaze, we've used Tesseract Glow or something like that, then go back to the dry brush again, mix a little bit of Tesseract Glow with like a brighter color like yellow or something like that, and then use that to dry brush the closer areas to the light source and the light source itself. It's a really fast and efficient way to do it. Wow. Joni Tuomisto from Finland. That is a lovely piece and a high quality photo as well, dude. First proper experiment with full NMM for the whole model after I got fed up with metallic paints. How on earth did you get fed up with metallic paints? They're wonderful. I do like NMM, but I also love metallics. Working with red is really fun and easy. People don't say that. You're mad. Your world has been turned on its head. He's been painting actively for 3 years and looking for new challenges. Well, dude, impressive. One thing I would say about this is the contrast on the piece. I'm trying to upscale and remember how to do NMM myself at the moment, and I've had some tips and tricks. There is one section on here that is absolutely amazing, and my eyes are drawn to it because it's amazing, and that is the light source you've got on his blue shoulder pad. That goes bright enough, and it looks way more realistic. You could go to that level in that style over the rest of the model, and it would all look more shiny and more metallic, like, you know, exactly that. So his axe could go to brighter, you could catch the edges and stuff like that. It is hard though, dude. I fully failed my first NMM foot practice recently. Your red's gorgeous, the model works really well, your freehand's nice. Maybe christen up the edges of those ultramarine symbols like the one on his knee with a little bit more neat white. But otherwise, mate, that's really supreme and you should be proud of it. Good job. This is some good weathering. Okay, so from Croven Blaze, Philip, in Alaska in the United States, I presume he's been spending his time hiding from the weather and getting awesome with pigments. So this model is a brilliant example of having a very different model to a base, and then just gelling them perfectly and fading them into each other and embedding the model in the environment by taking the model's tones and then bringing them up the model very naturally. You know, he's got dust concentrating around the front of that front mudguard, up the legs and stuff like that. Really, really, really nice. As far as things that I would change, I would maybe take a little bit of that dust and wash it into the recesses. You know, you got it next to the fuselage, next to the guns, on you know, maybe have a little bit evident there, but otherwise, dude, this is really good, and you've done such a good job of embedding that in the environment that you want it to be, you know, its narrative to be from. That is sweet. Myers Harvinson from North Carolina in the USA, extremely clean painting here. A recent Grimdark Salamander I've painted. Okay, so it's like a slightly less vibrant salamander to fit with the Grimdark theme. Black leather's hard, man. It really is quite difficult. A blue wash on black armor goes a long way. I know it sounds a bit weird, but you would be surprised. Pop a blue wash down on and it'll just add a bit of depth to the black. Overall, I'd say that if you are going for Grimdark, you've done more Grimdark than the normal brighter salamanders, but if you are going for Grimdark, there are too many happy elements to this, in particular those crystals on the base. It's cool to show off your skill and stuff like that, but I just think, you know, maybe some blood, maybe some pigments or some grime or something like that. The lava can absolutely work with Grimdark, and your lighting around the lava is really, really bob on. But I think introducing that blue element to the base, it's like one too many colors, and also it doesn't fit as well with the aesthetic. Of course, if you've got an entire army like that and that is your theme, then absolutely rock on and go for it. Clean edging though, man. I just weather it a bit more, you know, pull it down in the recesses. Have a look at Streaking Grime from AK. It is like the staple of the Grimdark movement. Also his weapon and stuff, put in more weathering. If you want him to look battle worn, make him battle worn. Wow, okay, these fit the aesthetic nicely. This is from Michael in Poland. I started painting in May 2020 in lockdown. I've loved it since day one. You are a very talented man. That's brilliant progress in a year, dude. These are awesome. I look like, just to completely, you know, poop on everything I've said so far, somehow he's made flowers work in the context of a Grimdark base, and it's awesome. I don't know how that's a thing. Really is, you know, very, very, very cool. Yeah, these are really nice. I like them lots. So this is an example of models that are lit for their style perfectly, and Grimdark, you know, it doesn't look as good on a happy green table. It is made to go in its own specific environment. What would I change about these? I can't think of much. You know, they really, really fit in their style extremely nicely. Maybe, I know these models, I know Dryads well, their loincloths made of leaves are quite difficult to do. You can maybe take some autumn tones and paint specific different colors of leaf on that, or have it, you know, all the same orange. But I think introducing a, you know, a slightly muted but warm orange to that section of the model would help with its overall balance. Love the glowing eyes and stuff, looks a bit evil. Maybe some blood, but it is scary to add blood to your models. Really is, it's a bit tricky. Yeah, they're lovely though. Dude, you should be super proud of them. All right, so we've got some Grimdark grounded Stormcast, which I believe, is that heavy sculpting on their shoulders? Yeah, these are cool, dude. Lutherian99 from Instagram, great job. They are looking really nice. One thing that I would say is that maybe on their armor, I know they're Stormcast still, even if they are a bit more Grimdark, but all over this model, like, the base is lovely, like really, really, really nice. But on the base and on the armor, maybe I'd have some weathering in the recesses or age stuff within the recesses, you know, just to push that maybe these guys come back from a campaign or something like that. The variety in their weapons is great. Really nice to see Stormcast with some non-Stormcasty weapons on them. Particularly you've got yellow on the shoulder pads and then the armor next to it. Maybe gelling them both together with a bit of weathering would be a really good idea. They're awesome though, dude. If there is more of that army, please send it in. I would love to see more armies. Wow. We have a big boy here. We've got an Imperial Knight. Nice weathering on that loincloth. Attempting a more grimdark look at Emperor's Children. My first big model that I've ever painted. Great job. I've tried to do a marble effect on the leg panels, but it never turns out how I'd like. I think a lot of people have had issues with that. That's from Tom Bolton in Somerset. Right, I think especially that lower leg panel that we can see facing us next to the loincloth, I think that's pretty nice, man. You could get some blues or some purples, Google marble, Google white marble, and have a look at the other colors that go on in it. You can maybe do something with washes just to add a little bit more depth to it, but I wouldn't worry about it, man. Those flowing brush strokes have worked better in that larger section than they have in the smaller section above. I think that's just because you felt more free and you've probably relaxed a bit. And I'd say that section's really successful. Nice weathering and text or use of transfers. Really good bronze as well. Maybe a little bit more kind of like bright chipping weathered suggestions to the metal would enhance it even further. But if you look at that, like that hip joint shiny bit, that's got a really nice burnished old steel look to it. I'd say this is hugely successful, man. Maybe on your chains, dry brush them up so the raised areas are a bit brighter as well, just to push the contrast. But otherwise, that's awesome. Really nice. Oh, Simon Forster. What a man. Okay, this is lovely. I just really like this. It's also a fantastic photo. Yeah, really, really good. Solid basing, can't say anything about that. The tufts have been, they have been embedded within the snow in a fairly realistic fashion. Right, how have you actually painted this? Zenithal base coat with lighter and lighter blue-gray, blocking all the colors and accents, enamel wash reductive technique, reducing, so taking away from, sponge chipping, although chilling is written here, that's fine though. You can do some chilling if you like, and final highlights. Dude, your transition from blocking in to sponge to highlights is awesome. You should be incredibly pleased with that. It's really, really nice. Those scratches look awesome. Like on that black shoulder pad where you've got the brown and then you've got the gray around it. This is a really successful technique. I like the tones and general feel of the model, but feel like it could be executed better and cleaner while still remaining grimdark. What do you think? I wouldn't worry about it, man. Like, not at all. If you want to make anything cleaner on this, pick things like the rope around his waist, and then the blood. I've got some stuff to say about the blood. So that blood, if you look at the drop that's on his hand, that is like a human-sized drop, and it's because I think this looks like Tamiya Clear Red. I could be wrong, but if you mix in some thinner with that, and then you put it on a brush and go, or you can use an airbrush and like blast the end of a brush. It's scary because it's not very controllable. What you'll get is smaller speckles of the blood appearing on the model, and then you don't get large blobs because it's so viscous. It's going to kind of blob at a scale that would be suitable for much larger things. If you thin it, you can get smaller blobs more easily, or you can even place them with a brush yourself. This is awesome though. I would love to see more models like that. Like, I really like that one. This is my favorite so far. Oh, It's my favorite of the lot. That's the end of the slideshow. All right, so I hope that you really enjoyed that. Let me know if you agreed with my opinions or you didn't agree. Did you enjoy the fact that we picked a genre? Would you like us to do vehicles or armies? I would like us to do armies. Like, please do send us more armies and absolutely send us more grimdark stuff. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, let us know below if you agreed, what you'd like to see. Please hit that bell notification and subscribe to be notified for future content. And any suggestions for this video or other videos, we do read each and every comment. We take criticisms on board. We take nice words on board. They're always appreciated. That is it. Really enjoyed this one. I will see you guys in the next video.